Ladies and gentlemen, without further delay, I would like to introduce you, our face-to-face audience and also the audience online, as this is a hybrid event. Mones Altarazi is the Senior Sales Accounts Manager and Business Development Manager as well at Waseela for Technology Consultants in Dubai, UAE. He's here with us to talk about new monetization streams in the telco data and analytics. So it's quite useful to have somebody speak about telco. This morning we heard that telco is not doing as much as the oil and gas sector. Example was Innovatech, and telco needs to do more. So I find this quite a useful talk by Mones, and over to you, please, Mones. Thank you.
Thank you, Sadiq, and thanks for having me in this amazing, conference in Oman. I would start with, I'm coming from a system integration background, and our main customers are always the telcos here in the region. So the presentation will be mainly, yes, around the telcos. It will be light in terms of the technicals, and I would say hopefully it will be rich from, the business objectives and, the monetization point of view. Through my presentation, I'll go through the following agendas. Since this is, focused conference about the Oman, we will shed some lights about the current CSPs revenues, historical and the forecasted regionally, and focused on Oman. I'll go through, the main business models in terms of the revenue sources, which is mainly the B2B and the B2C business models. The current status of the, the data structure currently in the CSPs, where I would say they have the main or one of the most, entities in any country who have data about the population. And in the last section, we will go through, one of the proposed, some of the proposed, analytics, potential revenue streams that might be mitigated by the CSPs or the carrier service providers. First of all, we will go with some figures just to shed some lights on the commercial part for the service providers. Historically, the service providers are one of the entities who are, generating, huge revenues, starting from 2017 or even before, since 2010. The carrier or the CSPs, they have been, facing some declining in their revenues mainly from the mobile infrastructure. This has multiple justifications. I would say the main revenues of the service providers all the time was the connectivity, and for which has, the voice calls, the SMS, and so on. However, for the recent, I would say, 10 or 15 years, the OTT applications such as Skype, right now WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, and so on, they have been introducing new facilities for the people in terms of the connectivity part or the voice. So this has, some or major effect in terms of the revenues for the CSPs. So looking for the graph from Statista, we have been finding that, the voice or the fixed data and the mobile data revenue stream has been, declining for the past periods. Some of them are related for the huge demand from the population in terms of the broadband data requirements, or even, the modernization that are happening for the CSPs, where they are, investing more money in their network. However, the capitalization of their revenues has been declining. Shedding some light on the Omani sector, mainly in terms of the revenues, we are facing, the same, I would say, since 2017, the same habit or pattern in terms of the revenue sectors or the revenues from the telcos. Currently in Oman, I think we have Omantel and Ooredoo Oman, in addition to the third operators, which is Vodafone. That will be, let's say, I think it's already introduced there, but I'm not sure about for the network still. It's being, let's say, in the implementation phase. So according to the TRA, let's say in between 2020 and 2017, we have been declining more than 8% in terms of the revenues, which accumulated to more than 50 million Omani Riyal. And this degradation, I would say, in revenues, it should be, let's say, faced with more, or let's say, more cost on the network itself. According to the same from the TRA, the ARPU is following the same habit in terms of the declination in the mobile, or let's say the monthly subscriptions, starting from 2015, for example, till 20, we have been declining in terms of the ARPU, where right now for the telephone part or the voice part, it is $4.7, starting from where it was around almost the double in 2015. Our looking for the ARPU in the same time for the broadband part, we are following the same habit, and sometimes we have been facing, let's say, better insights or better figures in 2018, 19, but right now it's always declining. It's the same declining. This is part of the, let's say, the B2C business model that have been followed by the CSPs. However, I would say there are huge opportunity for the carrier providers, for the SPs, according to potential in the different market, rather than the B2B, rather than the B2C, which is the enterprise and the government under the B2B. According to the TRA, the current revenues mainly is coming from the consumers, which is a B2C model, where it's mainly from the fixed and mobile services. However, around 30% of the revenues in the service provider are coming from the enterprise. Looking for let's say international or global companies, main service providers globally, for their revenue distribution, we are looking for around, for example, in AT&T or T-Mobile, more than 15% or 18% of their revenues are coming from B2B. In BT, we have been facing the same, or let's say almost, let's say, 1/3 of the others, which is around accumulated for 27% of their revenues are coming from the B2B sector. This has, let's say, the mobile, the fixed, in addition to, let's say, modernization or modern type of resources of revenues, such as the clouding, IoT, cybersecurity, edge computing, and so on. So I would say that mainly for the Omani sector, there is a huge opportunity in the B2B sector to be monetized and capitalized based on new technologies, and in our, let's say, current topics, which are around the analytics, IoT, and big data. In the B2B, what do we have? I would say those are one of the main sectors that have been, say, introduced recently: security, IoT, clouding, edge computing, marketplaces, and the platform itself. The analytics, where it can fit, I would say that there are many areas that the analytics part, it can be fit in the IoT or the edge computing, or even mainly the platform business. However, those industries or those topics, they have the analytics part and they have another part, taking into account the IoT, where there is a huge potential, which is considered more than 200 to 300 million USD, as, say, in terms of the potential. We are seeing that more than 40% of those potential revenues, it will go for the application and the analytics part. Look for the connectivity, it's more, which was, let's say, mainly the bread and butter for the CSPs, which is around 5% only, while for the hardware itself, it was around 55%. So if you accumulate, let's say, the whole potential in terms of the analytics part for different segments or categories, we are finding that there is a huge potential or revenues for the CSPs to get benefit from it and improve their P&Ls and profitability. Okay, right now, where we are standing in terms of the CSPs itself, they have a huge amount of data. Most of the developed companies in the GCC or the Middle East, for example, the penetration is more than 100%, which means that in some people, they already carry more than one account with one service provider or the other. Looking for the current data structure in terms of the from, say, availability point of view in the CSPs, we are finding that they have the structure of data is based on silos, which is, this is, let's say, we tend to be followed right now, where silos of, let's say, customer information, their location, or let's say the whole detail, the customer detail, the CDRs, which is the customer details reports. On other people, they have more information about the customer, let's say, handsets coverage, or the, let's say, the infrastructure coverage, the Wi-Fi availability, or even the whole umbrella of the OSS and the BSS systems. Those are already isolated from the others. In another people or the departments, they have, let's say, the social media or the CRM about their customers, or even as an external type or resource of information about the population or inside the country. And another people who are, or let's say, feeds who are, let's say, the customer interfacing, who, such as the customer service or the NOC team and OC. They have more details about the complaints or, let's say, the billing of their customer. So integrating all of these, I would say, resources of data, it's one of the initiatives for the carrier provider to follow analytics pathway. So what we shall done, what has to be done, there are multiple processes, I would say. It's being implemented from the technical side, such as the data cleansing itself, or the data processing, and the whole ETL process. This is one of the main or the major processes, or, let's say, milestone that should be taken into account to implement an analytical firm for the CSPs. So after all of this, what we'll do, we will integrate the whole data of all customers, for example, in one data lake or one data warehouse. That in this way we will have the 360 visibility of their informations according to the silos of the data itself. Looking just from a high-level technical point of view, those are here the sources of data that is, let's say, mentioned before, and the streaming analysis, or let's say the processing that can be done for them. And later on, what we can do, we will have them all in one data lake. We can do further predictive analytics, any machine learning modeling on them. We can have more business intelligence to forecast or to predict according to the business use case that we are proposing. At the same time, we can integrate third-party data. Now, the CSPs, they have one of the major data silos inside their, let's say, data centers or clouding. But in the same time, we can integrate it with third parties from the governmental or the social media, or say any type of, let's say, third parties that can be integrated. We can do it, and we can use it as an adds-on valuable data to our existing insights that we are proposing. In the same time, once we have the whole streaming, we can do the visualization for them. This is for the mainly for the higher level management to have more insights about, or the reporting itself about the current status of their business objectives, what they are looking on, or to have data-driven, I would say, type of companies where they are getting their actions based on historical data, not based on heuristic actions or experience of individuals. This is one of the, let's say, jumping into the main use cases that we are proposing. I would say I would start with the API management, or let's say the APIs itself. This is one of the main common practice that has been available in the CSPs from long time. It's not new. However, there's a new use cases using it. Later on, we will jump to the customer experience or the customer loyalty. And the third one, which is one of the most, where the location-based services of the carrier provider. The APIs as a revenue stream. APIs have been used since maybe 10 or 15 years in the enterprise sector or for the service provider. However, what is it mainly? It's used to extend the reach of the information between the silos itself, or let's say the industries or the companies, to share their information based on a secured and transferable way. Mainly, for example, we are already using it right now in Google, AWS, Microsoft Azure, and so on. All of them, they are using APIs to share their information. However, right now in the CSPs, they are using it, but internally. For example, in terms of the multiple system that they have, the BSS, the OSS, inside the telecom company with the IT, for example. However, it's never been used for monetization point of view. The main business objective is to monetize the assets that is available inside the carrier provider. Those assets, it can be, let's say, the infrastructure itself, such as the clouding, or mainly the data that the CSPs they already own. For example, as telco, we can share with the banking, with the energy sector, with the transport, or even the health care as an APIs for the detailed. Right now we are in the COVID, for example, we can SMS for the people about, let's say, their status from vaccination, or from if they have been affected with the COVID or not. So we will have a kind of heat map, for example, for the vaccinated people, and give it for the health sector. So this is one of the main tools. The APIs is considered one of the main tools to share information with the other parties. In terms of the, let's say, the market expected is very huge. It's expected to reach around 1 trillion in 2030, where the compound accumulated growth rate annually is around 17 to 18%. This has been, let's say, already evaluated and tested before. In 2020, it was around 250, and it's expected to reach, let's say, the 1 trillion as mentioned. Some figures about the APIs. You can't imagine that. For example, in the travel, let's say the travel sector, such as Booking or Expedia, more than 90% of their revenues is coming from APIs tools. The e-commerce is around 60% of their revenues are coming from the APIs. And for so, let's say that the software companies such as AWS or Azure or Google Cloud, they are monetizing their assets with more than 50% of revenues is coming from such sources. Comparing those, let's say, type of utilities, or let's say the enterprise huge companies from data point of view, to the CSP. The CSP, they already have such data, so they have such assets, such as, let's say, in Oman or for the regional service providers, Vodafone in Oman, Etisalat, Zain, and so on. They have a huge amount of data that can be monetized. So why not? Why don't we say monetize them through an APIs compared to the others? Let's say I would say there are multiple ways for the telcos to benefit from the APIs itself. First of all, inside the CSPs right now, most of them, they are looking to be agile, flexible in terms of their product management. So having an APIs, this will accelerate their productions in terms of the product that is being used. Since mainly we will having an API, which means utilizing some resources or some assets one more time. So we can utilize the same resources or the same assets from different people. So this it can say enhance the innovation and doing more kind of optimization of the efficiencies of the new device, of the new service that is being developed. In the same time, once we are having the APIs, we can share more information with the enterprise in the same country, for example, with the government, with the health, with the utilities itself. So we will be able to provide or to support them in many areas, such as in the smart cities right now, where let's say the government, they are depending on the CSPs in many applications. And the last thing, where I would say is one of the most important part, which is the richness of the developers. Right now, in the application that we are having in our hands, okay, it's being implemented by developers who are using certain APIs, such as they are using Google APIs, AWS, and so on. But for them, if the CSPs, they can provide an APIs of their resources, then this will be one of the most, I would say, potential resources that generate more money, since the application its growth is exponential in terms of the volume. It's not, let's say, even such as the B2B, but it's a kind of B2C. It can be considered, since the people or the developer themselves that are using it are enormous. Okay, what are the type of some of the examples that can be used? The messaging itself, back to the same resources, historical resources of the service provider, where they are using the SMS itself. Right now, for example, if I need to authenticate myself in any of the social media, or let's say the banking, they will ask me to send an OTP message. Okay, this can be provided by the service provider. In-app payments, the CSPs, they have all information about me. Okay, why we don't do the wallet itself? I think it's being implemented in some places. Okay, however, it's not popularized right now. The service provider can do a wallet for their let's say people or the customers or the users itself, and do in-app payments. The third one, which is, let's say, related for the location-based, the footfall of the people for the indoor and the outdoor, we can provide a kind of dashboards. For example, we are not looking to popularize some private information about the users themselves. However, we can do it hashed or anonymized in terms of the locations. I need to know, for example, in one location, how many people are crossing by certain retail, or say they are seeing some kind of signage or ATMs or banking. All of them, it can be provided. The fourth one, which is, I would say, it's one of the most important ones, are the identity aggregation, where we can provide a kind of, say, authenticating the users of the application themselves through single sign-on through the CSPs. Some others, such as the customer information, or let's say the M2M IoT communications, it can be implemented through APIs. The second, let's say, type of monetization rather than the APIs is the geolocation data. Geolocation data, what does it mean? It's mainly right now the CSPs themselves, they have huge amount, they have one of the main logs for any users are the GPS or the location of them for both, let's say, outdoor or in some cases, let's say the indoor part. So how we can say monetize those locations of the users? It might happen through, let's say, for the retail site selection. If they need to open a new branch, I need to know what, let's say, to understand where are the shoppers are coming from, what is the demographic of those shoppers. If I am looking for certain type of people, such as touristic people and so on, am I, let's say, investing in the right place or not? So the retail site selection is one of the, let's say, majors to be utilizing the geolocation data. Another one for in the marketing campaigns or the advertising. Okay, for example, I'm already implementing digital signage in some places, and I need to know who are, let's say, the demographic of the people. If I am interested in certain, say, people to watch my advertisements, I'll provide that. Other than that, let's say, which is related for the micro profiling or the crowd management. In micro profiling, what does it mean? Let's say the profiling itself having more detailed information about the user themselves. In the CSPs, they have all details about the demographic, the financial, the social, and so on. So I can provide kind of hashed or anonymized information dashboards for my customers as an enterprise for those who are in their main interest. Crowd management, it can be used for the smart cities application. Everywhere now there is, let's say, initiatives for the smart cities, and the best people, or let's say the best parties who can provide such information are the CSPs. So in terms of the monetization, I think we have shown that those, let's say, kind of high level structure that can be provided. Also for the indoor, we can utilize, let's say, the same infrastructure in terms of the Wi-Fi, BLE, or, let's say, small cell, which is already implemented by the operators to be utilized in analytics, auto attendance, let's say, indoor navigations, or, let's say, the massing itself. The third one, which is the customer experience management, or, let's say, I would say the loyalty and the churn management. In any place, if according to, let's say, Ericsson Consumer Lab, more than, I would say, 95% of the people, okay, or around a third of them, they are staying with their current operator just due to not to go through a hassle of change. However, if you are looking for, let's say, customer satisfaction or, let's say, loyalty, is a bit low, it might be. One of the main, I would say, milestone that they are looking for are the network itself, if we can measure it, and the customer support that can be provided for them. Right now, as long as we already having all details of the customers' parameters, such as, let's say, their invoices, their bills, their TTs, the current coverage, their main customer incidents they are raising. If we have all of them, okay, right now we can build a kind of customer modeling for the business people inside the telcos. And the last thing that can be provided is to reduce the churn itself. The churn, which means, let's say, the people who are leaving one operator to another. So we will be able to predict and pinpoint exactly who might go out or who might leave us as an operator and who might stay with their, let's say, satisfaction or loyalty, what we can do for them, how we can maintain or do a kind of retention for them. So this is, let's say, kind of main insights, or let's say the main revenues stream that can be provided from the analytics and the data part. I hope that the presentation was not so long and beneficial for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mones. That was a great session about the new monetization streams in telco data and analytics. That was Mones Altarazi, the Senior Sales Accounts Manager and Business Development at Waseela for Technology Consultations.